ما شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته، ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماوات بأحمد وفي الأراضين بأبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الأطهرين، لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين، روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء، ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقتلتهم وغاصب حقوقهم والمنكر فضائلهم العلين. أما بعد, for the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Marziya, for the enlightenment of the graves of your marhumin, of the graves of the Shahida, Ulama and Siddiqeen, for the safety of the followers of Ahlul Bayt around the world, and for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam Marwahun al-Fida, please recite your loudest salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. All praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who is Rahman and the one who is Rahim. The night of the Shahadat of Imam Reza alayhi salatu wassalam is upon us. That Imam al-Ra'uf, that Imam who is known as Ghareebul Ghuraba. Why? Because he has no one else by his side. All of the other Imams, they're surrounded by some family members. But Imam Reza alayhi salatu wassalam, he is alone. Ghareebul Ghuraba. And that's why there is so much importance that has been placed on the ziyarat of Imam Reza alayhi salam. One of the companions of Imam al-Jawad alayhi salatu wasalam comes to visit him. Says, Yabna Rasulillah. He says, I desired to go to Karbala as I heard from your ancestors. There are narrations that the Za'ir of Karbala is able to do shifa'a for 100 people and receives the thawab of 90 umrah. He says, but however, the situation is such now that I also have an opportunity to go to Khurasan, modern day Mashhad, and to do the ziyarat of your father, Imam Reza. Which one should I go to? Should I go to Karbala towards the ziyarat of Aba Abdullah, or should I go to Khurasan to the ziyarat of Imam Reza alayhi salatu wassalam? Imam alayhi salam says to him, if you ask me, I say to you, go to Mashhad. He says, why? Imam says, because the ziyarat of my father Ali ibn Musa al-Ridha is greater than the ziyarat of Imam al-Husayn alayhi salatu wassalam. He says to him, why? Because, look, the Zaydiyya, the Ismailiyya, the Waqifiyya, all of these sects, they go to Karbala for the ziyarat of Imam al-Husayn. They all believe in Imam al-Husayn. But only the Ithna Ashari, only the 12ers will go for the ziyarat of Imam Reza alayhi salam in Iran. The companion then continues asking the Imam a number of questions. He says, the Imam says, Yabna Rasulillah, but is it not true that your father was given the title of Al-Ridha by Ma'mun al-Rashid la'natullah alayh, because he accepted to become the heir apparent. And so as a result of his acceptance, he called him Al-Ridha, the Radi, the one that is happy, that is satisfied. Imam alayhi salam looks at him, he says, never repeat these words again. He says, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose my father to be Ridha within the heavens before he even came to the earth. He says, for what reason? What is that purpose? Why is he called Al-Ridha? He says, because whoever believes in Imam Al-Ridha alayhi salam and takes his deen and his belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from Imam Reza alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is satisfied with that person. He says, and now that you ask about Karbala and you say that 90 Umrah is the thawab for Karbala, but you should know that the thawab of going on the ziyarat of Imam Reza is alf accepted Hajj Makbula. The word alf, he says 1,000. In Arabic, when 1,000 is used, it means something innumerable, unmeasurable, something that cannot be accounted. He says that going on the ziyarat of Imam Reza alayhi salam is equivalent to 1,000 accepted Hajj and Umrah. In another narration, Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salatu wassalam, when he talks about the ziyarat of Imam al-Ridha alayhi salam, he says, my son's ziyarat is equivalent to, the thawab of it is equivalent to 7 Hajj Maqbula. The companion saying, wow, Imam, 7 Hajj. He says, no, 70 Hajj. He says, 70 Hajj. He says, no, 700 Hajj. He says, 700 Hajj. He says, no, 7,000 Hajj Maqbul. 7,000 Hajj accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the result that a person receives that amount of thawab going on the ziyarat of Imam Reza alayhi salam. This companion of Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam comes out of the meeting excited. He meets another one of the Shias on the way and he says to him, you never guess what al-Jawad alayhi salam just told me about the ziyarat of Imam Reza. So he tells him, this is what the Imam said, this many Hajj Maqbul. He says, if you're so excited about what Al-Jawad told you, what would you have done if you heard what he had told me? He says, what did he tell you? He says that there will be on Yawm al-Qiyamah, there will be a member of 1,000 steps, and Imam al-Reza alayhi salam will be placed upon it. He announces from the top of that minbar that any single person that has done a single ziyarat or has sent a single salam towards me, come forward. People will begin to come forward. Now these are people that have been for the ziyarat of Imam Reza, or people that have been stuck in their homes, unable to go, yearning to go. But from here, they call out, Assalamu alayka ya Ali ibn Musa al-Ridha. Says those that send salam from afar. Says any one of you that have done that, come forward. People will begin to come forward en masse. He prays to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of their sins are forgiven and he does shifa'ah for every single one of them and they are all sent to Jannah. This is Imam Reza alayhi salatu wassalam. There are only 2 places where the Holy Prophet of Islam has referred to in hadith, or the A'immah have referred to in the hadith as being a rawda, a garden from Jannah. The first is Karbala and the second is Mashhad of Imam Reza alayhi salam. A rawda, a garden from Jannah. There's only 2 people whom the Holy Prophet has referred to as Bad'atum Minni. One is Zahra Salamullah alayha, and the other is Imam Reza Salawatullah wa Salamuhu alayh. He says that a part of me, Bad'atum Minni, will be buried in Khurasan. This is Imam al-Ra'uf. There are so many stories that we can tell you about the ziyarat of Imam al-Ridha alayhi salatu wassalam. That what is it that people have gained from the door of this Imam al-Ra'uf, this Imam al-Martyrdom, this Imam, this generous Imam. But on this night, we'll send our salams towards him. But as I say everywhere, Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam didn't just come for us to recite their fada'il, but rather Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam also came to take us to heights. They came, their true purpose was to come and take us to heights with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what is it that Imam al-Ridha wanted from me? There are many different narrations, but there was one very beautiful narration that we'll look at tonight. The Imam alayhi salam, he says, لا يكون المؤمن مؤمنا حتى يكون فيه ثلاث خصال. A believer is not a believer unless he possesses three characteristics. سنة من ربه وسنة من نبيه وسنة من وليه. Says the first is that he possesses a characteristic from Allah, from his Rabb. The second is that he possesses a characteristic from the Nabi. And the third is that he possesses a characteristic from the Wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what are those characteristics? Imam goes on to explain. He says, فَسَنَّةٌ مِّن رَبِّهِ كِتْمَانُ السِّرْحِ. قال الله عز وجل عالم الغيب فلا يظهر على غيبه أحدا إلا من ارتضى من رسوله. He says that, and in regards to the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is hiding secrets. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, the knower, Allah is the knower of the unseen, so He does not reveal His secrets to any except to him whom He has chosen as an apostle. The first characteristic that Imam Reza alayhi salam is telling his mu'mineen to have is a characteristic from Allah, and that is the ability to hide secrets. Kitman sir, to hide secrets, to disclose things, according to narration, is part of kufr. If someone has trusted you with something and you disclose it, it is a part of kufr. It's interesting, I say this everywhere I go, that, if ever you want to make sure something is spread within a community, the person that you're telling, just say to them that, look, please don't tell anyone. And they'll make sure that everyone else knows. Because the next person that tells them, look, I shouldn't be telling you this, so please don't tell anyone. And it carries on, ila akhir. And then it spreads around all over the place. So the characteristic that the human being must possess is the ability to keep secrets of people. This is an amana. The mu'min never breaks the trust of someone. A mu'min never does khiyana within the amana of someone. When someone tells me something in trust, they tell me in confidence, then I have no right to go and tell someone else about it. One of the traditions says, whatever you know, whatever secrets you know of even your enemy, don't disclose them to your friend. Don't disclose them to your friend. Of the enemy. It says, even maintain the secrets of your enemy. The society that we live in right now is all about digging up dirt on people. How can I find out more things about this person? Let me hack their phones. So many different divorce cases and problems that we encounter where spouses are hacking each other's phones, where spouses are hiding things on their phones. You know, we're trying to pry into people's secrets. Sometimes there are secrets that a person they are not worth keeping. Meaning what? Those secrets of haram. Stop doing the haram, stop keeping those secrets. But then there are other secrets that we're compelled to keep when someone trusts us, for example, with secrets. So one of the ways to salvation is being able to keep control of my tongue. Or in fact, silence. As-samtu shu'ar al-anbiya. Silence is the slogan of the Anbiya. Silence is what drives the prophets of God. Silence is that thing that was the backbone of the prophets of God. Silence is what gives wisdom to human beings. No, it says that the doors of wisdom open. The more quiet you are, the less you speak, the more doors of wisdom open for you. Nowadays, when I'm sitting in a conversation, I want to be the one that's got something to say. I want to be the one that knows, even if it's random bits of information that I picked up off half a YouTube video or some article that someone has shared on WhatsApp or that on Facebook, or then that message that gets forwarded to me at 2 a.m. in the morning by the uncle at the idara that can't sleep, has some sort of insomnia, that he forwards me the article, and one day I decide to read it, and oh my word, silence sometimes is the best option. I've read half an article, I want to have an opinion about something. See, because silence, why is it that silence brings spiritual growth? Because silence brings clarity. Silence brings stillness. Especially in this world where there's constantly things going on. If you imagine them as vibrations, if you imagine them as sounds, there's constant white noise around us all the time. There is this buzz of information flying around from text messages, from people we meet, from television, from our iPads, our Netflix, whatever it is. Constantly, we are surrounded, being bombarded from every angle. So a person forgets themselves. They forget themselves, they forget their journey. Now it's just about binge watching this box set, binge watching this show, trying to find time to binge watch something. Trying to find time out of an otherwise meaningless existence, which is all about wake up in the morning, go to work. I've got to go to sleep early because I've got to wake up early because I've got to go to work. I don't even, have any days off. And unfortunately, you guys in America really don't have many days off in the year. So it's just constantly rushing. So in and amongst all of that noise, if a person learns to stay silent, it will bring stillness within themselves and create clarity for them, both in the dunya but also in the akhirah. It will bring clarity to their worship. It will bring clarity to their lives. And that silence isn't just controlling my tongue, but rather controlling my fingers as well. Like, I sit there quietly, but I'm constantly on my phone. I can't eat without sitting there on my phone. I can't eat without watching something on YouTube. I can't eat without having, my kids can't eat without having their tablets. I can't go to the masjid without without giving my child a tablet or a phone. Rather than actively telling them, no, listen to the majlis quietly, give them a phone. Keep them distracted. Imam Reza alayhi salatu wasalam, he says there will come a time upon the people, says, where safety and good health will be of 10 parts. 9 parts of it will be in being distant from the people, and 1 part will be in silence. In order to save their health, we're going through it right now. In order to save one's physical health, we've had to withdraw. So 9 parts of it will be withdrawing from the people. But more importantly than that is our spiritual health. When we see everyone around us drowned in sin, or everyone around us obsessed about the dunya, that the people I surround myself, now they've got kids, it's about what school their child is going to go to, what university what college their child is going to go to, what career aspirations they have for their child. And constantly now my mind is also going towards that, in order to save my iman, save the iman of my family. Ku anfusakum wa ahlikum nara, as the Holy Quran says, save yourself, save your family from the fire of hell. In order to do that, I need to withdraw from the people. I need to withdraw from the people. At times it is good for me to be around people who remind me of Allah, people who help me develop myself. But at times when people are so consumed by consumerism, by materialism, then I have to withdraw from the people. This is 9 parts of it is in withdrawal, and 1 part of it is in silence. That good health, that maintaining good health, is within silence. The next thing that the Imam alayhi salam, he says, وَأَمَّا سُنَّةُ مِن نَبِيِّهِ, and in regards to the sunnah from the Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, فَمُدَارَةُ النَّاسِ فإن الله عز وجل أمر نبيه صلى الله عليه وآله بمدارة الناس فقال خذ العفو وأمر بالمعروف وأعرض عن الجاهلين. Says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says that the characteristic that a person needs to get from the Prophet of God and implement within their life is kindness towards the people. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded the Prophet of God towards kindness towards the people. In Surah Al-A'raf, verse number 199, it says, take to forgiveness and enjoin good and turn aside from the ignorant. It says, be more forgiving of the people. Be more forgiving. Nowadays we've become so impatient as well with people that, oh, this person looked at me funny, or this person didn't come to my son's wedding, or this person, didn't compliment me, or this person looked at me weird, or didn't make good food, and straight away I want to annihilate them. There's no, this person, in anger spoke to me like this, and now I'm never going to speak to this person for the rest of my life. He disrespected me, she disrespected me. Forgiveness. The narration say, you forgive so that Allah will forgive you. You forgive someone that has wronged you, so you can stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on Yawm al-Qiyamah and say, Ya Allah, I forgave this person for your sake. Ya Allah, you have mercy on me. To incorporate mercy within ourselves is essential. To show mercy towards the makhluk of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, human beings and animals. Now I can show mercy towards humans, but Showing mercy towards animals is, no, that's not something for me. Or I can show mercy to animals, but showing mercy to human beings, no, that's not something that is for me at all. So being able to create, being forgiving. You know, when Imam Sajjad alayhi salam in Du'a Makarimul Akhlaq, when he talks about the muttaqeen and their characteristics, about the ones that fear Allah, that have consciousness of Allah and what their characteristics are, he says, Ilahi albisni zinat al-muttaqeen. My Lord, clothe me in the beauty of the muttaqeen. Fi bastil adl, wa kadmi al-ghayth, wa itfa'i na'ira, wa dhumma ahli al-furqa. He says, my Lord, clothe me in the clothing of the God conscious, fi bastil adl, through the establishment of justice. وَكَظْمِ الْغَيْظِ, through swallowing my anger. وَإِطْفَاءِ النَّائِرَةِ, and extinguishing the fire of hate. وَضُمُّ أَهْلِ الْفُرْقَةِ, and bringing together the people of disunity, those that have been disunited, to bring them together, to be a catalyst for unity. In order to be able to do that, a person needs to have mercy. How is it that the Holy Prophet of Islam was managed to take all of that difficulty, but then managed to change that society? It was through that love. It was through that mercy. And so we need to be embodying that mercy, showing that forgiving nature, instilling that kindness within our next generation, within ourselves. You know, first of all, it used to be a case of, oh, no, fathers don't show kindness, they don't show emotion, fathers are angry. No, times are obviously, alhamdulillah, changing as well, and there is this element of softness that's coming, not too much softness, then that ends up going the other way, because these are all balances within one's soul. You see, being able to balance anger of the soul, because the soul is made up of three main powers: قوة الوحمية, the power of imagination; وقوة الشهوية, the power of desire; وقوة الغضبية, and the power of anger. And all three of these are tempered by the fourth, which is القوة العقلية, the power of the intellect. Now, if they're out of sync, i.e., the intellect is not used, then, you know, if, for example, let's take anger. If a person is out of sync with their anger, not using the aql, they'll either become hot-headed, angry, hard-hearted, with a short fuse, or again, if it's not tempered with the aql and the anger dies, they become a coward. They become cowardly, they become afraid, they won't stand up. But yet now when the aql tempers the anger, now you see that a person won't get angry unjustly. And they will only get angry for the sake of Allah. When they see people disobeying the rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will become angry for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, having that element of kindness, this is all to be tempered with the intellect of a person. So the second thing that Imam Reza alayhi salatu wassalam says that a person must possess in themselves is a characteristic from the Prophet of God, and that is the characteristic of kindness. You know, you've all heard of the woman that would throw rubbish on the Prophet as he would walk past. Every day she would wait for him, she would throw rubbish on him. Then one day she doesn't throw rubbish, and he says, oh, where is our friend today? And someone tells him, oh, she's ill. He says, let's go see her. So he takes the companions and he goes inside, and he sits there, and this woman now looking at the Holy Prophet says, now he's come to take his revenge. The The Holy Prophet of Islam says, no, I've just come to see how you were. Today you didn't throw any rubbish on me. I was worried. And this is kindness. This is genuine care. A genuine love for another human being, for the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The third thing that the Imam alayhi salatu was salam, he says, وَأَمَّا سُنَّةُ مِنْ وَلِيِّهِ, and in regards to the sunnah from the wali of Allah, فَالصَّبْرُ فِي الْبَأْسَاءِ وَالضَّرَّاءِ فإن الله عز وجل يقول والصابرين في البأساء والضراء. Says, and in regards to the characteristics from the wali of Allah, it is patience in ease and difficulty. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran says, and the patient ones are patient in ease and difficulty. Learn from your Imams patience. How to be patient in the face of bala, in the face of difficulty, in the face of trials. All of those musibah that befell Aba Abdullah al-Husayn in Karbala, thirst, the death of his loved ones, the heat of Karbala, having his children there, knowing that his women will be in prison, knowing that the children would die, knowing that his friends and family members will all be mutilated and killed, but still he comes out, Subhi Ashur, Ilahi, you are my hope in all difficulties, and you are the one that I turn to in all sorrows. This is that sabr upon the trials. Because one has a connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why they say that the ayah وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ قَالُوا إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. Says we will test human beings من الخوف with fear, والجوع with hunger, ونقص من الأموال with loss of wealth, والأنفس with themselves, والثمرات with the fruits of their labor, i.e. their children, وبشر الصابرين, and glad tidings to those that are patient. Who are they? They are the ones الذين إذا أصابتهم مصيبة, those that are faced with difficulty and musibah, قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. They are those individuals who, when faced with difficulties, they say إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Imam al-Baqir alayhi salatu wasalam says this ayah is about those that live in the ghaiba of the Qayem, i.e. me and you. It says because they will be tested with all 5 of these things in order to see whether or not they are worthy. Karbala, if I was tried with just one of those things, just thirst, how would I react? How do I react? How do I react? When I don't get my food on time, how do I react? When I'm thirsty, am I remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? When I'm fasting in Shahr Ramadan and it's hot and it's a long day, throughout the whole day, other than the morning Fajr prayers and the time I go to work and then come home, I'm miserable because I'm like, oh, what am I going to eat? And I come towards the end of the day and then I start to feel a little religious. I'll recite some Quran, and that may only be with the intention of killing time. And then I go and I eat and then maybe pray namaz and then do I have to I've got to wake up tomorrow for work and I've got to do this fasting thing again. Imam Hussein alayhi salam is faced with all of these bala, all of these difficulties. He goes day of Ashura. He goes out, he gives his Ali, he gives Abbas, he gives Qasim, Burayr, Zuhair, Habib, all of them lying in Karbala. He himself covered in blood. إلهي تركت الخلق طرا في هواك وأيتمت الأيال لكي أراك وإن قطعتني بالحب إربا لمال الفؤاد إلى السباق. My Lord, I've left the whole of creation for your sake. I've orphaned my children so that I may see you. And even if the swords were to come and cut me to pieces, my heart would turn to none but you. This is the sabr of the wali. Look at the sabr of Amir al-Mu'mineen. He says in Khutbah Shaqiyya, it was like, my example was like that of a man that has a thorn in his eye. And he's unable to remove it with his hands. And every time he blinks, the pain is there. Or my example was like that of a man that has a bone stuck in his throat. He can't get rid of it. As I watched the Khilafah being usurped and the religion slowly being destroyed bit by bit, but for the sake of that very same religion, I had to stay quiet. Look at the Imams, the Aimma alayhimus salam, how it is that they had to deal with people. You look at someone like Imam Al-Hadi alayhi salatu was salam, where the Imam is being forced to live in the stables of the Abbasi Khulafa, of the Abbasi Khalifa. He's being forced to live amongst the horses and the donkeys. Someone comes and sees, he says, Yabna Rasulillah, says, your status, you shouldn't be here. The Imam says, our status is our status, whether we are in the palace or whether we're here in the stable. The Imam has to be sabir, has sabr. You look at Imam al-Askari alayhi salatu was salam, at that young age, prison after prison, but still he doesn't once lose his tawakkul ala Allah. You look at Imam al-Kadhim, most of his life spent in prison, but he's able to bear that difficulty and rather look at that difficulty as a blessing. My Lord, I asked you for an opportunity to be alone with you, and you gave me prison. I thank you for that. Sometimes when we have difficulties in our lives, we have been conditioned to view them in such a negative light, whereas difficulties are a development of the human being, are a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, at times when one's been through many difficulties, one wishes for ease as well, but it is a development of one's character. And especially here in Akhir al-Zaman, in this last time, in these days of the ghaiba of our Imam, the tests, the trials, the difficulties, the problems will increase. We have to be ready to face them with patience. We have to be ready to face them with hikmah, with understanding. Otherwise, our communities, everything that we know, it will all cease to exist. Yes, another nation will come and will establish the dhikr of Allah, will establish the remembrance of Abu Abdullah and Ahlul Bayt, but we will be deprived of it because we were not focused on it. In the face of trials, in the face of society turning against us, rather than maintaining our faith, we sold our faith. Rather than maintaining the name Muhammad, I turned it to Mo. Rather than maintaining that hijab, I decided it was too difficult, so I got rid of it. In these times, sabr is what we need. Patience is what we need. For the ease is near. But the believer knows that through these trials, it's the same way as a person going to the gym. A person goes to the gym, puts themselves under strain constantly in order to achieve the body they want. Trials, difficulties, problems with the religion, people attacking the religion, we being afraid for our, being afraid for our lives, or thinking that someone's going to attack us as a result of our religion, or being penalized because of our religion. These are all part of those tests, all part of those trials that will develop me stronger, develop my character. Then in the face of all of this negative press, I can still rise above it, be patient, and still show the love of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. 3 things that are there from Imam Reza alayhi salam that we can implement within our lives. And this Imam al-Ra'uf, this Imam al-Kareem, that was willing to help all those that in his life and in his death is still Kareem, is still Ra'uf, is still Mehraban. That Imam became the target of the jealousy of Ma'mun al-Rashid. Imam Reza is Gharib al-Ghuraba. I said, because there's no one else by him. He was all alone. When Ma'mun called him to Marv, which is modern-day Turkmenistan, Imam alayhi salam was all alone. He left behind his sisters in Medina. Yes, one of them tried to come to him, Sayyidah Ma'suma Salamullah alayha. She tried to come and see her brother, but it wasn't to be. She attains shahadat before she even gets to see her brother. But it would have been difficult for Sayyidah Ma'suma to have seen her brother in the state that he was in. Aba Salt, the slave of Imam Reza alayhi salatu wasalam, says, the Imam says, I've been summoned to Ma'mun's home. It's just a short walk away. Ya Aba Salt, if you see me coming back walking normally, then know I'm fine. But if you see me with my Aba on my head, Aba Salt, know that he's poisoned me. Imam Reza alayhi salam leaves. Aba Salt says, I was unable to contain myself, pacing back and forth outside of the house, waiting for my master to return, waiting for Imam Reza to return. Imam Reza goes, sees Ma'mun. The narration says Ma'mun already is holding a bunch of grapes in his hands, having eaten half of them. He then insists that Imam Reza eats one of them. Imam Reza says, no, I don't feel like eating. He says, no, eat this one. This is particularly sweet. He hands the Imam a date. The Imam again refuses. He says, no, I insist. If you do not eat it, you will offend me and it will cause me great offense. Please eat it. Imam Reza alayhi salam places that one date in his mouth. Straight away he stands up and begins to walk towards the door. Ma'mun looks at him, says, Oh Musa ibn Ja'far, oh Ali ibn Musa, where are you going? He turns towards him. He says, Ma'mun, to that place that you wish to send me. He walks outside of the house of Ma'mun. It's only a short walk away. Aba Salt is standing outside waiting for the Imam. He says, a short while later I saw Imam Reza walking back towards me. He had his Aba on his head. The walk was so short from the house of Ma'mun to Imam Reza's house, but the poison of Ma'mun was so potent that they said that Imam Reza fell 50 times before he reaches his home. Aba Salt takes his Imam, rushes inside the house. Imam says, Aba Salt, lock all of the doors. Don't let anyone in. He says, take me to my room. Abbas says, I took Imam Reza to his room. Imam pulls up all of the carpets, the rugs on the floor. He says the Imam lay down on the cool earth with his chest. يَتَمَلْمَلُ تَمَلْمُلَ السَّلِيمِ. The Imam was writhing on the ground like a man bitten by a venomous snake. The Imam would turn from one side to the other. He would turn from that side to back to his front. He was writhing out of pain. He says, I saw the Imam whispering something. I came closer and I realized that he was saying, oh Jawad, come quickly. Oh Jawad, come quickly. Abbas says, I left the Imam. I came outside. I saw a young boy walking inside the home. I said, where did you come from? Why is it that you're here? I'd locked all the doors. He said, that's the one that called me. I am here to see him. He says, I am Al-Jawad. Imam Al-Jawad rushes towards his father. He says, I saw the boy take the head of Imam Reza in his lap. They began whispering to each other. Soon the soul of Imam Reza left his body. Imam Al-Jawad gives him ghusl. He gives him kafan. Oh, Sayyida Ma'asuma, you would not have been able to see your brother in such a situation. Lucky you were that you never reached Mashhad, that you would have seen your brother in that state. يَتَمَلْمَلُ تَمَلْمُلَ السَّلِيمِ. He's flipping from one side to another out of pain of the poison in his body. Come and ask Zainab what it is like to see a brother passing through the pangs of death. Zainab, who saw Imam Al-Hassan vomit parts of his liver. Zainab, who saw her brother like Abbas lying by the banks of Furat. Zainab, who stood on Tilla Zainabiyya, watching shimmer on the chest of her brother Abi Abdullah, striking away at his neck. She was standing crying, Wa Muhammada wa Aliya. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our sins. Pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive the sins of our parents. Oh Allah, those of our parents that are alive, give them long lives. Those of our parents that have left this world, give them a place next to Ali Muhammad in Jannah. Oh Allah, those who are ill, give them shifa. Those who are in debt, clear their debts. Those who are in education, make them successful. Oh Allah, keep safe the Shia of Ali Muhammad around the world. Ya Allah, give us the tawfiq to go on the ziyarat of Imam Reza alayhi salatu wassalam and all of the Aimma and Ma'asumeen alayhi wassalam this year and every year. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time, and allow us to be amongst his true muntadhireen, his true waiters for the acceptance of these du'as and any other du'as that you brothers and sisters have brought on this night. Please recite 3 Viladas Salawat ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad.